Okay, we're live.
You ready? Okay, those of you who are willing to arise, we're going to have, want to participate. We're going to have Brandon Ritchie here is going to lead us in prayer and start us off this morning. Brandon, will you come up forward, please?
Father God, we thank you for this glorious day that you've given us. Father, we pray for the agenda that's laid out today before this council. We pray your will is done and the decisions that are made this day. We are thankful for those who have committed themselves to serve, to govern, Father, your people. And we just pray and lift them up to you, Father, that their decisions they make this day are decisions that are based on wisdom and good discernment, Father, and that you are glorified through their decisions. It is a mighty calling to serve and to serve people, Father. And we thank you for those who have stepped into that role to serve. And we pray that as servants, they make the decisions based upon what's glorifying to you, Father, and what's best for those who they serve. We thank you for all that are gathered here this day. We pray that all of our conversations this day, Father, that all of the decisions we make individually are glorifying and your will is done and all that we do and touch this day. And we pray these things in your Son's precious name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Brandon. You all please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if anyone's come in at the last minute, we announced this a few minutes ago, there's a sign-up sheet in the back if you want to speak under public comments. Would you please sign it and put your name on it, slip over there. Sometimes our recordings, we don't pick up your name real well, so it gets a little confusing later when you go back and do the minutes. We want to make sure we get it right. So if you want to speak, the sheet's there. Thank you. First of all, we started this morning. Let me say thank you. Welcome to all our visitors. We're going to start off with public input on agenda items. Does anyone have anything they want to say on the agenda items today? There'll be another public comment section at the end of the meeting also. So anyone on agenda items? Seeing none, we'll move on. Jason, Highway Department.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I do have a few permits this morning.
We'd be surprised if you didn't. Thank you very much.
Everybody got their phones off, Stan?
Huh?
You got your phone off?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Thank you for being concerned about me. First item is BSM Group. They only have one request. It's 6 Road, Rose to Spruce, Lincoln Highway, Polk Township. It's in the directional board to install conduit and fiber cable.
Motion to approve the permit as presented.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve BSM Group, their request. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Second one is Troyer Group. It's they have one request. Old US 30, Center Street to Main to North, Bourbon Township, directional board. Again, it's to provide internet service.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made second to approve the Troyer Group permit. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next one is Surf Internet. It's the first one is Michigan to US 6 and 2C, directional board, back machine. It's North Township, tying into existing network in the past and building south. This is for ICP grant customer. What does ICP mean, Jason?
That was just what they put on their
Okay.
ICP.
I will say, Stan, this is one of those, I actually did reach out to the company. We had some constituents who were wondering when the heck they were going to get fiber in that area, and they've been responsive to that. So thank you to Surf. So,
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
a second.
Motion made second to approve the Surf Internet's request. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Is that all of them?
That's all of them. Bridge through 232 Randolph Street and the port construction plans to finish the formwork and pour the stems for Pier 3. They will strip the forms and then begin preparing for the caps on Pier 3. They're roughly at 44% completed.
Excellent.
And have no updates, so we'll go to Mill Pond Dam improvements. We'll be contacting the company to schedule the slip lining for the pipe on Mill Pond. EV grants, charging stations are installed, meter base installed, electric ran and down to installing the meter box for the 200 amp service. I just talked to him on the way here and he is there, so hopefully we have that completed. Road program, chip and seal. We started the road work on May 29th. I'm not going to read all of those. As of the 16th, we've estimated to do 42 center lane miles sealed. That's around 14 total miles due to the fact that those are triple chip and seals. Cost, we've ran $416,659.74 in emulsion. $83,104 in nines and $42,144.80 in 11s for a total of $541,908.54. During that process, we added segments to the road program: 1C US 6 to County Line, Jar 6B to 7th, Lilac 3rd to 4A, Linden 6 to 1B, and Plymouth Port Thorn to 3B. That was due to we put the road program together and I missed 9th Road which was on the paving for us. That was a community crossing project, so we pulled that off and we added those back to that to make up that difference. So that's why we added a few of those segments onto the road program.
Is that the ones we need to approve? Is that the change in road plan we need to approve?
That was the one that was discussed.
Do I have a motion to approve that additionals to the road program?
So moved. And a second?
Motion we made and seconded to approve the additionals to the road program. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Community crossing matching grant. Had a pre-con meeting with Milestone. They plan to start June 19th and 20th on 16C Road. They plan to do 3rd/2C early July. Their goal was to have 3rd Road 2C completed by July 3rd. Additional paving projects. Back when we submitted for the community crossing matching grant, we had listed these projects also with that community crossing when we posted that for taking bids. We never really done anything with those, but if we wanted to do anything with them as far as having any of those projects done based upon funding, would it be okay to go ahead and have those approved? And if we do have any money for those projects, we could go ahead and request them to be done.
You have that list here?
I do. It's tied to this.
Huh?
It's on here.
Okay.
Angie, you don't have this. This was after I sent it out and it was a last minute thing, but it's the additional paving. That's why it's not on that, but I have it on this one.
Okay.
Well, we need to read that in the records, what we're approving, so.
I can give it to you if you want to see it now.
Well,
Yeah.
it has to be one to read it. And then,
But it's actually the exact same.
It's the ones we talked about before, we just didn't formally approve them, but if we're gonna move it,
did we just do that? No, these are. Sorry.
Those are the additional paving.
additionals, yeah, we never approved, we approved the others, didn't approve these. So the ones under considerations would be, correct me if I'm wrong here, Jason, King, Lincoln Way to US 30/9A. Is that Suter?
Shooter.
9th to 9A. 9th, dead end to Richter. Quail Ridge, 12th to dead end. Kenilworth, railroad tracks to Dewey Street. And then we're a total of $535,000 estimated, $535,232.70. So if we approve these, this is all basically contingent on
Funding.
the council funding. So I guess basically all we could do today, if we wanted to approve and send them to council, see if there's any interest.
And just for public reference, these would be add-ons to our existing community crossings paving
Right.
projects where
Right.
the outside contractors would just add these on to what's already been approved, right?
Yes.
Yep, okay.
So they would not be tied to community crossings, but they would be completely different additional paving projects aside from the community crossings.
But they become cost advantageous because those companies won't incur any additional setup charges.
Correct.
Okay.
Do you have a contract with Milestone?
They submitted it, so it's still based upon, if we approve them, then we can send them that, as far as the contract, getting it with them. Does that make sense?
So you're, if,
Are you proving it?
Because we don't have, it's not been approved for any awarding.
so you're saying if they're approving this, they'll put a contract together to bring back at a
We
future
can, if we're
meeting?
going to do, if we only do one or two of the projects, they're not gonna give us a contract for all five. But we can submit to them that we wanna do these two projects, and we would contact them for those two projects to have a contract for them two paving projects.
Okay,
So basically what we're saying today is that the commissioners are going to send to the council a request saying, we would like to do these projects, and then we're gonna give the council the ability to fund which ones of those they choose to fund.
That or X amount of dollars, and we can pick and choose which ones we want to do. Does that make
And then
sense?
the contract will be drawn up based on that, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Does that make sense, Angie? Okay, what'd you have?
Oh, no.
You good?
Just clarified that, yeah.
Okay.
All right, motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and second to send the projects we just discussed, we just read, to the council for consideration of funding. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I think that's all I got.
Anyone have any questions for Jason? Thank you much.
Thank you.
Next, we have the Marshall County Tobacco Education Coordinator. Is Annette here? Oh, there she is. I didn't see you. Come on up.
Yeah.
Please state your name and title for the record.
My name is Annette Haney, and I'm the Tobacco Education Coordinator for Marshall County. And good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
I am here today to make a request to take the cargo trailer of Stash Uncovered to the Porter County Health Safety Fair on Saturday, August 9th from 11 to 2. I know that Mr. Shoemaker is our driver for that, who works for the health department, and previously he agreed that he would do that for us. So that is my request, that we would take that for educational purposes and to really show off what Marshall County is doing down here.
Any comments? Anything else you want to add? I'm sorry. Anything else you want to add in that?
No, this is my big request for the day.
As I recall, when that trailer was built, that was built for the purpose of basically staying in Marshall County.
Well, I did not know that, and I did not understand that.
I understand, that's fine, but I'm just
So,
saying.
and I didn't realize that well, of course, I'm not a Marshall County employee, so I didn't know that things could not be taken out of the county until recently.
Right.
So, and we has already they have hit us up months ago about coming up to Porter Stark for their health fair with their health department.
This trailer is very specific, right? I mean, it is specifically for this program, and the health department doesn't use it for any other purposes, things like that, right?
That's what I'm aware of.
Were there any concerns about the physical condition of the trailer? I thought there was a conversation about that. Is in your knowledge, is it in good shape?
Question
Or?
about the wheel bearings or something?
I have not heard anything like that.
Something last week, and I don't remember what it was. There was concern about.
Well, they haven't spoke to me about it.
I guess the thing of it is, different people use it around the county. There has been past. I'm not sure maintenance has been what it should have been on it, So nobody's really in charge, but I do know when it was set up specifically for Marshall County to be used here at fairs, schools, whatever, I do have a little problem taking it outside the county. Sets precedents, and it's nothing against the program. I'd rather not do it. I don't really want to send it outside of Marshall County. Now,
Okay,
I do know there's an interest in selling it. So if the hospital or somebody wants to buy it, set it the way it is, I think there is an interest in selling it. I'm not sure they want to do this anymore.
Okay, that is too bad because it is very good educational piece it's got a bedroom. We've set up everything inside with a bed and all the vaping stuff, and so I'd really hate to see that collaboration go, especially since we've been so involved with the schools.
I tell you, Stan, if it's been set up just for that purpose, I don't know that the county necessarily has a value in that, you know, if it's not something that we want to continue to be involved with.
Well, the value's inside the county.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would consider if they wanted to pick it up, as long as they would commit to continue to service Marshall County, I would be all right with selling it to them for almost nothing.
That's technically that'd be up to the health department too. I think there's an interest though with management out there is looking at doing something different. I'm not sure they want to be responsible for it. So, but I'll leave that decision up to them.
But the commissioners,
Right now, we're only looking to whether we're going to let it go to Porter County or not.
Any idea what the valuation of the trailer is?
No, I have no idea.
Well, we personally have painted it and did some upgrades in it ourselves.
Well, the reason I ask that is if we'd possibly be willing, as far as being okay with the health department just doing a donation to them, if it's if it's not
yeah,
a complete value to us, so to speak,
or a dollar sale.
a dollar sale that way.
And that's something we can ask them.
Okay.
And I'd be willing to support that. I definitely don't want to hamper you guys' ability to fulfill your mission. As long as that commitment remains to operating within Marshall County, I'd be fine with that. So,
And I think we'd be able to have, if it's an August 9th time frame, that should give us enough time within next month probably to figure this out.
Well, we still have, she's had a request, so we have to have a motion on the table and the vote,
okay,
either to approve or deny.
okay. Well, I agree with you, Stan. I don't want to set a new precedent on this, so I move to deny the motion with the contingency that we'd be interested in negotiating a purchase if they'd want to take it off the county's hands. So
I'll second that.
Motion been made second to deny the request for August 9th to go to Porter County. But if there's an interest in you guys purchasing the trailer or working on an agreement with the health department, we would be okay with looking at that.
Okay, and remember, I am a grant.
I understand that.
So, and I am not really a St. Joe employee. So my grant has been accepted for another 2 years, but my grant is very, very thin.
We
So I don't have any extra cashola. I paid for some of that stuff in there. I have paid personally for.
I'm sure you have. So
So
like I
that's
said, yeah, if a proposal came in to sell it to you guys for $1, I would support that.
okay. Because like I said, I don't have I bought a lot of that stuff in there personally. So
okay. Well, motion made second to deny the request for August 8th or August 9th, excuse me, go to Porter County. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
This might have been a better result than what you were asking for. You won't have to come back and ask us again in the future if you guys buy it.
yeah, but the big thing is it's got Marshall County Health Department way across both sides with 3DZ on the front. So
Okay.
it'd have to be wrapped.
Thank you. Sheriff here? Who's here? On behalf of the sheriff. I didn't see Sheriff in the audience. Sheriff's got the DNR Lake Enforcement Grant. And basically, I think we can move on without it. It's the same as every other year. Sean, how much do you know about this? Have you looked at it?
It was sent to me last week and I reviewed it and didn't find anything out of the ordinary.
Is it the same? I don't remember. Is it the same dollar amount? Or is it just basically we apply for it and then whatever they give us, we take?
I don't think I was provided the previous one, but it would be my guess that it's probably within the same range.
It's the same dollar amount.
Okay.
And that has, it's for the sheriff's department to sign, so you would be ratifying a signature from the sheriff's department.
For the sheriff to sign. We'll just give him authority to sign. On behalf
Yeah,
of the
giving
county.
the sheriff's department
Mhm.
the authority to sign.
Okay.
All right, this looks pretty straightforward to me, and we've seen this on the council a number of times, so I move that we approve the DNR Lake Enforcement Grant Agreement with authorizing the sheriff to sign on behalf of the county.
Second.
Motion made second to authorize the grant agreement, the DNR Lake Enforcement Grant Agreement with the sheriff, allowing him to sign on behalf of the sheriff's department or on behalf of Marshall County. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The touch biometrics fingerprint machine, I really don't know much about this. Did you look at this, Sean?
Yeah, I did, and I don't think that this had any matching requirements, if I'm recalling correctly.
I thought it was just a grant and basically a freebie for this.
I thought that it looked fine.
Yeah, there is no cost from the county. They gave us a dollar amount for our purposes for the record keeping side, but there is no dollar amount for these.
And if I recall, I think this is a part of every time they book somebody in, they don't do the ink and paper anymore. They digitally fingerprint people, and it goes into the criminal database, so we know exactly who it is that we're dealing with and know where their warrants are at, and can help figure out whether they're in the country legally and all that wonderful stuff. So I support this. So,
So is that your motion?
Any idea if this is actually new equipment or is it just like software updates and stuff like that?
I believe it's actual equipment.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And we need two motions. One is an approval to apply for the grant, and then an approval of the contract for the grant.
Okay. Your motion for approval?
Yep. So I move that we approve the grant as per the grant application as presented.
Second.
Motion made second to approve the touch biometrics fingerprint grant application. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And there's only room for one signature on the actual grant application, or I'm sorry, the grant agreement.
And is that the president or the sheriff signing?
It does not state which one, so that is up to you if you want to give authority to the sheriff's department to sign, since it's their equipment, or if you want the president to sign.
I give it to the sheriff.
Yep. I move to approve the contract with iTouch Biometrics and authorize the sheriff to sign on behalf of the county.
Second.
Motion made second to approve the contract with iTouch Biometrics and give the sheriff the authority to sign on behalf of the county. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Treasurer's Office, Wendy. I seen you come in a minute ago. And for those of you in the audience who don't know this yet, congratulations. Wendy Tapia is our new treasurer for Marshall County.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Could you state your name and title, please?
Yes,
And pull that microphone towards you a little bit. You got a soft voice.
I'm Wendy Tapia, and I'm the new Marshall County Treasurer. I'm here this morning because we have a confidential agreement between Marshall County and the Indiana Department of Revenue. We need for Stan to sign and myself so that the Indiana Department of Revenue will speak to me about the innkeeper's tax, and we just got to keep everything confidential. We're just happening to re-sign because I'm the new treasurer. So.
Yeah, this is just an update from the Department of Revenue collects all the innkeeper's tax, which is statutory throughout the state, from Marshall County. We get reports or monthly deposits, and the only way to balance those back and to know what we've received is for this confidentiality report to be, or agreement to be in place. This is something that was in place when I was treasurer. It has been in place with every treasurer since, and it is something that needs to be done in order for the Department of Revenue to speak to the treasurer's office. And since the innkeeper's tax is proprietary, it cannot go any further than the treasurer.
And by that you mean which institutions that is being collected from and how much each individual institution is putting in? Yep. Okay. Certainly, I'll make the motion to approve the confidentiality agreement and permit the president to sign on behalf of the board. And then before we move on, I do have some questions about the innkeeper's tax while it comes up. So,
all right. Second.
Motion made second to approve the confidentiality agreement with the president of the board signing on behalf of the Board of Commissioners and also with our treasurer signing. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Okay.
And before you ask any questions, I think you had something, do you have something to update on the innkeeper's tax or a little, did you have some comments on it?
Nope, I don't have
Okay.
any comments.
Go ahead.
If I remember historically, this is probably gonna generate about $600,000 this year. Does that sound about right?
It is 5% is what the statutory maximum is. That is, Marshall County Tourism Commission is a department of the county. They do meet here. They set up a 501c3. They have a contract between them. The commission is subject to State Board of Accounts audit, annual audit. Matter of fact, we have our state board in right now auditing. They're auditing last year's commission, tourism commission. The Bureau is a nonprofit that is outside of the county. So whatever their deal is, the contract, state board's basically looking for the difference between the contract between the two, the commission and the Bureau. So that is commissioner, the majority, I think the board is commissioner appointed. They had to meet certain statutory requirements, so the ordinance had to be updated last 2 years ago. Or last year, I'm sorry, so that we could have, be in compliance with the state. They get a draw twice a year. They have to send a letter and request that from us. That money can only go to tourism.
And that was gonna be my question for Sean, is I've done some layman's research on the innkeeper's tax. And from what I saw in the statute, it looked like there were 4, 5, 6 different purposes that this could be used for. Some of those were as broad as economic development, which we know can be just about anything. And so I'd like to get some research done on like what is the mechanism that we've established to distribute this, and then just to ask the question before we head into budget season, whether we are statutorily required to give all of it to the Tourism Commission, or whether there's an option for either the commissioners or the council to look at other purposes that some of this revenue might be used for.
Sure.
So,
Okay, I can update you on that at your next meeting. And I know that, so I worked with the Tourism Commission in the reorganization that was approved by the commissioners, I think last year, early last year. And through the formation of the new not-for-profit that they're working with. One of the things they put into place with the formation of this new not-for-profit was stronger controls to be able to gain access to their financials. I know they had, with the previous structure with the old not-for-profit, had some trouble getting some of their financial records. And so the new setup has where if the commission ever has any concerns, they've actually granted to the nonprofit is granted to the commission a springing power of attorney, like that. Basically, they nominated the commission as their representative if they have issues that they could, actually go and get the bank records and things like that. But I definitely can give you a memo that just kind of outlines the statute and how that operates and what some of the permissible uses are, and the relationship between the commissioners and the commission.
perfect. Because I certainly believe that the Tourism Commission and their new nonprofit is doing a good job. We certainly appreciate the increased levels of transparency, but I also do know that we're going to have some budget numbers that we're going to have to look at this year, and I want to make sure we can give our county employees a decent raise, and in order to do that with reduced property tax revenue, I do want to take a look at some other options. So,
Okay, thank you.
All
Anything
right.
else?
Nope, that's it.
Thank you much.
All right, thank you.
Sheriff, I apologize, we already took care of your 2 items. Do you have anything else?
No.
Okay, good, thank you. We'll make sure we didn't slight you. Okay, moving on. Attorney report, Sean.
I don't have anything to report right now.
oh man.
Well, you're quick. Moving on, the auditor report.
I have your June 2nd minutes.
I move to approve the June 2nd minutes.
Second?
Motion made, second to approve the June 2nd minutes. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
I have the June 5th executive session minutes.
I move to approve the minutes from the June 5th executive session.
Second.
Motion made, second to approve the June 5th, 2025 executive session minutes. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
I have your accounts payable claims.
I move to approve the accounts payable claims.
Second?
Motion been made and seconded to approve the accounts payable claims. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
And payroll.
And I move to approve the payroll claims.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the payroll claims. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next, we come to any public comments. If your name's on the list, if it's not on the list, you can still speak, but I'll ask you to sign it later. But please be mindful of 3-minute time limit. And I know we have some emotionally charged issues in the county right now. I would ask to be cognizant of how we want our children to view this. So I guess I'll leave it at that. So anyone wants to speak, please raise your hand. I know a couple of people went silent. Come on up, Mr. Woodward. And still, please, when you sit down, pull the microphone up and still please state your name and address for the record.
Bill Woodward, 12094 Peach Road, Plymouth. Thank you. I guess my biggest thing is on the sewer thing. And we've all had many discussions on this, and there are people out there that are at some point going to need help, and there are people out there that just want to change things. And I don't feel it's morally right to force somebody that doesn't have a problem to possibly sell their home for somebody that might later have a problem. I think each individual homeowner should be responsible for their own issues or potential issues. That if I wanted to help a person, that if I wanted to give money to them or something, that should be my right. My obligation is only if I want to, not legally forced to. It just doesn't seem right that a small group of people on a board can make laws or rules to force other people to give up for somebody else's benefit. So I would just ask that you keep in mind that there are homeowners that will have to give up homes probably either way, but somebody's going to give up a home for their reason, their issues, not give up their home for somebody else's. If somebody's sewer goes bad or septic goes bad and they need to do something, that should be their responsibility, not forced upon everybody else. If everybody else voluntarily wants to help, that's one thing. So I think that's the position of most of the homeowners out in the Lakes area. And that's pretty much, I just want you to keep that in mind as you go through the process. And I know you're going to do what you think is right after you do all your research and everything. And I just want to say thank you for all your efforts and all your time. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, what? Okay, ma'am, you want to come on up? You're next, sir. Well, come on up, ma'am. Come on up, ma'am.
My name is Jennifer Leary.
Okay.
I live at 15986 Cook Lake Trail.
Okay.
I have some questions. I have some concerns. The concern is that there seems to be a belief that this is a brand new thing that's just come up, the need for help out there with sewer systems. It's not. I know you, Mr. Klotz, know that. I've tried to read the Planning Commission minutes and the Health Board and the Common Council, the County Council, sorry, commissioners, so on. So the questions that I would have, there's been a lot of talk about money, that the sewer board is screaming through the money, nearly $1 million. So I'd like to know what's the amount? What have we, what has been spent in the sewer district by the board?
Near as I can tell, based on numbers I seen last week, of the $3 million, they've spent 700 and some thousand. I believe is what I saw. Plus,
700. Are you counting the 500,000 that was to be set aside for those that need it? Okay.
That has not officially been set aside in a fund. Okay.
Okay, it was pledged, but it hasn't been done.
Yes.
Okay.
$700,000 of that $3 million they took on an anticipation bond, plus the county, when this board started, give them $75,000 to get started.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't see any signs of that in there. So just the $3 million.
Well, Stan, I'll jump on
And you
top of
got
that.
more information.
It's at least 700,000. And I've also estimated they're receiving about $8,000 a month in interest revenue on that. So that's not counted in what their current cash balance is. So when you count in the interest income they received on that $3 million bond, my estimate is once you include that 75,000 from the setup cost,
well over 8.
it's probably over 9. Yeah. So
Okay, so I see, when I look at what they report at the end of the minutes, I see interest declared.
mhm.
So there's that. So if you're saying there are hidden bonds elsewhere,
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that when they borrowed the $3 million,
you put it in account.
they've been compounding interest on
Sure.
that. And so over the at least a year that they've had that money, they've also brought in about $90,000 in interest. So when you take their current balance, you'll subtract the $90,000 in interest from that, and then you'll get the amount that they spent. Does that make sense?
When I look at the end of the minutes and look at the money, I don't see them starting with that amount.
The $3 million.
So if you're saying they have 3 million
the bond
that
was
they're
$3
not
million.
writing down,
The bond was $3 million.
okay, have they taken it all?
I don't know. Well,
Okay, well then you
yeah.
don't know. I mean, I know that you get a loan based on the what you expect.
Mhm.
So that would be a question I would have. The accusation's been made. Looks like my time's up. So just my thought, the accusation has been made. So it's only fair, put the money out there.
Yeah.
I would like to see that. I think it's only fair. As far as what we do for our fellow citizens, people are drinking water and they're washing their babies. And they have a right to clean water. And because X can't afford it or won't spend the money, doesn't mean Joe Schmo over here with their baby and their kids deserve to have dirty water. That's the way it is. The reports are out there. We've been hearing from the Board of the Health since 2013. 2005 was a study by Soil and Water, I believe. So it is out there. I don't like spending money either.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Sir, I big orange shirt. Didn't you have your hand up? Yes. Yeah, come on up, please.
Tony Soria, 17336 Tomahawk.
Can you speak in the microphone?
Okay.
Say your name. Thank you.
Tony Soria, 17336 Tomahawk Trail. What I'd like to know is, how come we're not having the sewer board meetings on nights? I work day shift. I work for the Plymouth High School, and I've got to take a vacation day, okay? And I don't mind doing it, but past couple of times, personal issues have gotten in the way of me coming to these meetings and stuff. And I feel they're very important sometimes for people like that's on Medicare. We got a lot of people, and I live on Tomahawk Trail, and it's not a rich community, you know. And I think we get more people in here when we have our meetings ourselves. We get between 80 to past 100 people in there. But when in the morning when they have their meetings, we can't get that many because people can't take off work and stuff. And yet they had told us that they've tried maybe one time to hold a meeting on nights and hardly anybody showed up. I think it'd be a different story this time. You know, if we could sway them to start holding meetings at night, I think you'd see a lot more people than you do during the mornings and stuff. So, yeah, that's all I need to say.
Thank you very much.
Yep, you're welcome.
Anyone else? Anyone have any comments? Okay, we're going to move on to Commissioner items. We have the second reading on ordinance 2025-16, vacancies on the Regional Sewer District Board of Trustees. We passed it on first reading. Took a pause to think about it. Any comments?
My only question is, I know that the sewer board's attorney had sent us some additional information since the presentation of the ordinance. Is there anything that you've received, Mr. Cerisi, that would lead you to believe that the actions we might take today would be inappropriate based on that input?
No, I had a chance to review the memo. I understand that you'll recall I had to leave early at the last meeting, and I understand Mr. Nussbaum, one of the attorneys for the board, was here and made some comments. And then late last week, he provided a written memo as well as a letter from Mr. McFadden noting that we have differing legal opinions on whether this board or any of the appointing authorities of members to the Regional Sewer Board would have discretion to remove members. I did not find anything in his memo that was convincing to me. I mean, I will say that this is a novel question of law, and neither me or Mr. Nussbaum or the Indiana Supreme Court would be the final word on interpreting anything. But I think that the case that he provided, Fox versus Green, it's a 2006 case from, I think Madison County. I may be mistaken on that. Regardless, it had a town council that tried to remove a board member from a regional sewer district, and that member had a 3-year term, and basically the court in that case said that the member could only be removed for cause. It's unclear in that case. We don't have any of the facts of what the language of the petition that created the district said. Unlike in the case being from 2006, it's prior to now. Pretty much most documents that are filed in court are public. There's some confidential matters, and they're readily available on the internet, going to just the state website. But this is prior to that time where those documents are uploaded. So I don't know what the language of that petition says, but it's unclear from the case that it had any language similar to what is in the petition that you drafted that created this board. And basically the town just relied on a provision in the Constitution that says when the duration of any office is not provided for by the Constitution, it may be declared by law. And if not so declared, such office shall be held during the pleasure of the appointing authority making the appointment. And the town wanted to rely on that and say, well, the person serves at our pleasure, but the court quickly pointed out that no, that the person served for a 3-year term, and it apparently it didn't address how vacancies or removal would happen. And so they said it's a presumption that they served for cause. So there's a case that we cited in the prefatory pages of this ordinance that talks about courts of viewed appointments as being for really one of 3 ways: at will, where they can be removed for any reason or no reason at all by the appointing authority; for cause, where you have to show that there was some kind of failure in their performance of the duties, or there could be other statutory provisions that show a reason that's required to remove somebody. Here, I'm very confident that when the commissioners drafted the petition back in 2022 that was submitted to IDEM to create this board, and IDEM ultimately approved, that you used language in there that demonstrates an intent to remove at will. So the language is, upon a vacancy of the Board of Trustees for any reason, the appointing authority for that trustee shall be required to appoint a replacement. So I think you could have very easily said, if the board member vacates the seat, the appointing authority gets to make a replacement. You didn't use that language. And I think the state statutes about creating these boards have 2 different ways that they can be created. They can be created as to have an elected board for the regional sewer district, or an appointed board. And the statutes actually address vacancies for elected boards, and saying that they should follow the provisions under the state election code, but it's silent with regard to appointed boards. So that leaves to the whoever is petitioning to create the board to be able to address vacancies or removals within that petition. And I would just point out that there are many examples within state statutes of where somebody's appointed for a term, a set term, but then they're also removable at will. One example, I know we don't have a redevelopment commission here at the county level, but those members are appointed for one-year terms. And then Indiana Code 36-7-14-9, subpart B says, the county executive may summarily remove a county redevelopment commissioner member from office at any time. So just because they have that one-year term doesn't mean that anybody that has a term is in for the duration. That statute allows for at-will removal. In this case, you contemplated at-will removal when drafting the petition and now are reaffirming that with your home rule authority. I would just point out one other example that in general, with elected office holders, it's difficult to remove elected office holders. In most cases, there's impeachment by the Indiana Senate or other means where you bring a court action, and it's always for they've done something unlawful or a gross miscarriage of their duties or failure to, they've left the jurisdiction and aren't performing the work, things like that. There is a provision that I think has some useful language that shows that removal and vacancy can be synonymous in some senses. You can think of a vacancy at times as they just leave, and removal is an outside authority taking action. But I find this statute to be the language used in Indiana Code 36-2-3-9 to be helpful. And this has to do with a county fiscal body, the county council, having the ability to expel one of their own members for misconduct if they have a 2/3 vote of the membership. Not frequently used, though within the last 10 years or so, we've seen in our neighbor at Stark County has expelled a member there. Not directly involved with that, but my firm has been involved in a lot of litigation with having to do with the guy that was expelled, because the Court of Appeals has called him a serial litigator who sues people over everything. But that aside, subpart 2 of this statute says that the fiscal body may declare the seat of any member vacant. So that gives you the concept that making a declaration of vacancy is a legal terminology that's synonymous with removal. And I think that that's what the commissioners were attempting to do with the language in the 2022 petition to IDEM. That for any reason language means that at will, at your pleasure, you could declare the seat vacant and then appoint a replacement. So I think that is, there's a lot of principled legal analysis that supports that that's what that language means. I think that for a court, we're looking at this, that it's not, you declaring that that's what you meant by it is not something that the language can't bear. I mean, if the language said stop and now you were going to be saying what we meant was go, or it said left and you're going to say what we meant was right, no court is going to find that that is reasonable, and they're going to look at the strict interpretation of the words and say, no, that's not fine. But this is plenty of indications of that's what was meant back then. And then beyond that, the home rule authority, and that's something that the sewer board's attorney did not address at all in the memo that he presented, the home rule authority that the county has. So you exercise that authority by adopting an ordinance. So basically you're saying we reaffirm that this is what we meant, and we're adopting an ordinance to do so. So I think that you're on solid ground to proceed however you'd like and adopt the ordinance.
Pretty straightforward. I will say.
Sean, nothing in the law is straightforward, but yeah.
I will say one thing: in my 6 years, from my 7th year being here, I've been amazed at home rule. I mean, how broad it is. how it allows new boards, elected boards, change directions, so.
Yeah. And I would say, I think it's an important component of our representative form of government that all boards be held accountable to public opinion. And especially in the case of these appointed boards, if the appointing authority is not able to hold them accountable, then they are unaccountable. And we can't allow that.
Well, I believe, though, based on conversations I know some of us have had, this will be looked at next year in the legislature. I know some people's pretty shocked about what's going on here with this ordeal. I'll leave it at that. So,
All right.
any comments?
Real quick, just because we went down the whole pathway there, and that was a lot to absorb if you are in the realm of already reading through everything here. Sean, would you be able to do everyone a favor and just kind of give layman's terms what we're doing here on the ordinance?
Sure. So basically, the commissioners are doing two things. First, they're just declaring that what they meant when the commissioners adopted the petition that was sent to IDEM to form this board back in 2022 was that they meant to create a board that had members that are appointed and serve at the will of the appointing authority. So majority of the members are appointed by the commissioners. There's one member appointed by the county council and one member appointed by the mayor of the city of Plymouth. So it's just affirming that's what we meant, that the commissioners, the council, and the mayor can remove members at will for any reason or no reason at all. And then beyond that, it's saying, if anybody had any doubts about that, not just relying upon what we did in 2022, we're going to exercise our home rule authority and adopt this ordinance, and today say this is what we meant, and we've passed a law that states that. So that's kind of the summary.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Not right now.
All right. Well then, I will move that we suspend the rules and pass, adopt ordinance 2025-16 on second and third reading.
I will second that.
Motion made second to suspend the rules and adopt ordinance 2025-16, vacancies of the Regional Sewer District Board of Trustees. We're going to pass it on second and third reading. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
All right. Do we want to handle this other issue now before we move on?
As well.
All right. So I'm going to make a motion, and then if we get a second, then we can debate it, but I'm just going to go ahead and make the motion right away. I move that we declare the seat on the Marshall County Regional Sewer District Board, currently held by Tom McFadden, vacant.
I will second that.
Any discussion or debate?
All right. So, if we go ahead and declare that seat vacant, Sean, exactly what type of position does that put us in? Because we're, as far as potential legal battles, the need to refill the seat, items like that.
Yeah, so I mean, it presents questions of what's going to happen when you have conflicting legal opinions. So what I would suggest is that if you declare it vacant and that's passed, that then you work on coming up with an appointee of your choosing to fill that seat, and make that approval at a future meeting. And then it's kind of a wait and see to see how Mr. McFadden and the board react to that. If sticking to the opinion of the board's counsel, they continue to agree that you don't have the authority to declare the seat vacant, there's a possibility that, Mr. McFadden will try to continue on in office, and that would, we'd be presented with the choice of whether you want to go to court seeking a judicial declaration that he did have the power and that the seat actually was vacant. Conversely, just by taking this action, that could prompt the board to go to court themselves to try to say that you don't have the authority to this. So, or, I guess the third option could be that Mr. McFadden just vacates the seat and respects your decision, and the board goes on with a new member.
And if we send a appointee who has been documented that he's our appointment and takes the oath of office, and he shows up for that meeting, they're going to have to decide whether or not to which one of them actually has the authority to be there, right?
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I have some comments. I'm watching this issue. It reminds me a lot of the jail issue back in 20. When you look at some numbers, there's some numbers that have been thrown out. If you look at the numbers presented at $220 a month plus hookup over 30 years, that's anywhere from $92,000 to $95,000 per property. I remember back in 20, some people were very upset with me because I proposed hitting the pause button, stepping back from building that expansion on the jail. Everybody only talked about the $18, $19 million to build it, and then the interest was come like $28 million, if I remember right. Nobody talked about the rest of it. Okay, and that's kind of what's happened here. I proposed then to hit the brakes and look back. Basically, it was a 9-1. It would have been a 9-1 vote to build at that time, but we did hit the brakes. We got court services come over to help us. We wound up not having to build once they helped us. And actually, it's been more of a success out there than I even could have hoped for. And a lot of that credit goes to the prosecutor, the sheriff, and the law enforcement throughout the county, the judges, probation, community corrections. Everyone had an input. I'm looking this year now, and based on my comments, and I'm not going to speak for anybody else. Last meeting was we've spent so much money not even knowing if this project's even going to go through. The grant money out there right now is just not there. I don't care what anybody tells you. I don't know what'll happen. I don't have my crystal balls in the shop this week, but it's just not there. So I think it's prudent to hit the button. I wish we wouldn't have come to this. I wish we wouldn't have had to do this. Yeah. But unfortunately, our hands were, forced. So my biggest concern is I certainly would like to find a way to take care of these issues without each property owner ponying up $92,000 to $95,000 over the next 30 years. Because that just takes money right out of our economy that they can be spending elsewhere and taking care of their families and other things. So nobody's saying there's not a potential issue somewhere down the road out there. Yep. That's not what we're saying. So we're not trying to fill the lakes with E. coli and everything else, because I know some people will go nuts tonight on social media. Yeah. So for me personally, I want to take a step back and look at that. Can we find a solution? Everybody told me in 20 we can't do it. You have to build. You have to build. Well, that wasn't true. And again, I don't know if there's a solution out there or not. I don't want to give anybody false hopes, but I think it's prudent to take a step back and look and see what we can do, because I'm very uncomfortable with that number per property over the next 30 years, not to mention the personal impact it will have on some people. So that's just me.
Yeah. I think your points were well taken, Stan, over the last couple of weeks, where you said, and I recall, when folks say that this issue is not brand new, I don't think anybody's saying it's brand new. I was there 3 years ago when I voted against it. And I voted against it specifically because I felt like the board's power was too great, that it was unelected and unaccountable, that the scope of their power to be a countywide board was concerning, and their ability to compel participation in the project was concerning. And that was, I think my concerns have been proven out. You say that it's important to make sure that as we move forward, the folks at the lakes have options about what to do to deal with their problems. And that was what this board was presented as originally, that we were told that we weren't making a decision to build a sewer. We were creating a board to look for options. And then Mr. McFadden says over and over and over again, there are no other options. The only thing that we can do is build a sewer, which I don't think is true. We got a letter from the Indiana State Department of Health the other day, and they were telling us that they thought we should go forward and build the sewer. And I responded to them and I said, everybody would love a sewer if it was free. How are you going to help us pay for it? And the response that I received, in part, said this: our primary concern is the proper treatment of sewage in order to maintain a healthy environment for all. We can provide additional technical assistance on options for homeowners as far as on-site sewage systems go, but we would not be able to provide cost analysis or economic comparisons for these options. This would be a lengthy process involving individually identifying what type of system each home currently has, working with homeowners who have undocumented and/or failing systems for specific guidance for their lots, and individual permitting for those that need repair or replacement of their systems. This would be a many-year project. And I think that's exactly what this board was created to do.
I will go one step farther than that. Whatever we do or don't do here today does not ban sewers from the county.
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
Any subdivision, any lake can go out and create a conservancy district if they so choose. But it has to be the will of the people to do that.
Yep.
And I think, so this by no means stops sewers in Marshall County. Okay, so let's put that to bed right now. So, anyone, you have anything?
I am curious, has there been any indication of willingness to compromise, per se, like breaking this project down into phases to where you can manage cost, try to get good price points, and then phase everything in through attrition? Because I guess the main question is, for where we're at right now in this argument, is an all or nothing thing for Mr. McFadden or possibly some of the other board members to push this hard and everything through at one time? Or is there room to compromise there to break it down into phases, manage price points more effectively, so to speak?
Yeah.
I guess my biggest concern is why does it have to be all or nothing right now? Because over time, through attrition, because over time here, not everybody's going to continue to live on the lake. Other people will eventually buy properties out there, move into homes. But so you can bake into the cost of the selling price of the home at that point and bring them in gradually through attrition. So I guess I'm a little bit confused why it has to be an all or nothing situation right now with pushing the whole project through, as opposed to phasing it in over time to keep price points at an acceptable place.
I can answer that question. I met with several people in the last week, 10 days since our last meeting. I had a member of the sewer board contact me, and I met with him last week. And I proposed something different to you and said, let's sit down and compromise. Let's find a way. I think there's a way out there that we could protect the project, yet protect the people in vulnerable positions, and not force this down everybody's throat. And the comment was, and I'm not going to give the name up. I agreed to keep it private, and I'm going to, but I was basically told, don't you think we should do it all? I see no signs of compromise. Yeah. So very, very, very nice conversation, very cordial, nothing wrong with it, but I didn't see any signs of compromise. So
and the debate here specifically is not about the board in general, but it is specifically about Mr. McFadden's leadership. And what I've seen from him from day one, from when he came to request ARPA funds from the council, what I've seen from him is not cooperation, it is not a compromise, it is resistance and defiance. And I don't think that's good leadership. If we had seen, I've heard at their meetings multiple times, they've said, if we don't get the grants, we will not move forward with the project. Well, that decision should have been made a year ago. When they did not receive the grant on the initial application, it was completely irresponsible to move forward and spend an additional $700,000 that the people of this district are going to be forced to pay. And it seems like the intent, obviously you can't gauge intent other than people's behavior. It seems like the intent is to spend the entire $2.3 million pre-construction budget, regardless of whether the project goes forward.
Any other comment?
I'd like to ask about the research you did this weekend. What did you find out about water quality?
Oh, I ran across, I was looking through a bunch of stuff just to try to get some bearings exactly where we were as far as the water quality problems and things like that. And I ran across a fishing study done out that Lake Latonka did, where they had a third party come out, test and evaluate the water of the lake to see how it stood as far as wildlife and just the whole ecology of the water in general stood. And it came back with the quality of Lake Latonka's water being of high enough quality to support fish life, with no indications of anything bad going on out there in their ecosystem, which should, considering that's the outflow lake of the chain of lakes out there, that ought to be a pretty decent indication of how healthy of the ecosystem is of all the lakes out there, which makes me thrilled. I'm out there, I kayak it, fishing all the time, so I'm kind of happy about that. But I mean, that was done in 2018, I believe. I'd have to go back and look real quick, but
that was after the study was done by the Soil and Water District on the samples that were in that study that have been cited so frequently are nowhere near the lakes. A lot of them were miles away from the lakes, and so the indications of the Yellow River watershed having some samples in it with E. coli contamination doesn't necessarily indicate that there's a problem at the lakes. There may be problems somewhere else, but it's not necessarily happening in PSA 1.
Now, granted, you're not necessarily comparing apples to apples with a study like that versus some of the other things you might be looking for with a health department water test and things going along those lines. But it's a fairly decent indicator where we're sitting out there, I think, water quality wise. And I've had conversations with DNR various times already this spring when I'm out there fishing, and they seem pretty happy with how everything looks out there and just the general water quality and ecological stuff going on. This is one of those things, I think it's silly we got to this point anyway. I mean, I don't think anything that has been asked by any parties involved has been that extreme or that unreasonable.
Yeah. Well, and you would think that before you press forward with a $30 million project, when the greatest contentions that you're making for the need of that project are contaminated lake water and contaminated wells, you would think there would be some data available on contaminated lake water and contaminated wells in PSA 1, which I have seen nothing of. And people have been asking for it for months, and nobody's presented it. So,
well, we need to move on.
Yep.
So we have a motion and a second on the table to approve 2025-16 on both second and third reading.
We did that already.
Yeah, but we got to vote.
Well, no.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
The motion.
This conversation was about removing Tom
Yep.
Stanton.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, the motion is to declare the seat currently held by Tom McFadden on the Marshall County Regional Sewer District Board vacant.
So I'll ask for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for correcting me.
And then we want to put an appointment for the new member on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yep.
We can do that for the next meeting.
So I guess we're taking applications.
Next, we have owner occupied housing project deobligation, and this is basically, we had one project that didn't go through. So we have to do this de-obligation. So anything you want to add to that, Angie?
No, this, once you approve this, then we can get reimbursed for the
Reimbursed.
grant. One signature for the president of the commissioners.
I move that we approve the owner-occupied housing project de-obligation, authorizing the president to sign on behalf of the board so that we can receive our reimbursement.
Second.
Motion made second to approve the owner-occupied housing project de-obligation. All in favor, support the president of the board signing on behalf of the board. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is the annual covered bridge certification. Anything you want to add about that, Angie?
This is just a state required form that if we have any covered bridges for the highway, we do not. So basically this is saying we have 0 covered bridges, but we are statutorily required to approve this and send this in each year.
And that would be just the president of the board signing, so.
That is all 3.
Oh, that is, I'm sorry, getting rolled down. Okay.
I move to approve the annual covered bridge certification.
Second.
Motion made second to approve the annual covered bridge certification. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the JO Tower Communications Agreement. Sean, you want to touch on a bit?
Yeah, so this is something that John Grolick had brought forward several months ago. It's a agreement to assign our existing lease of at the jail for the communication tower and grant a permanent easement for communication purposes. And in exchange for that, the county would receive a one-time payment of $278,000. So I think that we've approved this at your past meeting and authorized Stan to sign it. So it's just today it's going to be going in front of the Marshall County Holding Corporation, which who holds title to the real estate, seeking their approval.
So we don't really have to do anything other than just announce that we're doing this.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody got any questions or discussion?
I want to thank Mr. Grolick and Mr. Cerisi for their work on this, not only giving us the opportunity to do this, but also negotiating well and getting us a better price as well. So thank you.
I was there when you twisted their arm. Okay. Thank you, John. We all appreciate that. Discussion of the AIC's Amazon Business Prime for Indiana counties. Jesse, did you check into this?
All I know is that when I was at a Commissioners AIC meeting down in Indy a couple of months ago, AIC presented the opportunity for the county to join a special program that they outlined for municipalities where we would get deals above and beyond what normal Amazon Prime folks receive. It also makes a very easy, it should make invoicing easier and things like that if everybody in the county who's using Amazon is going through the same point. And so I think it's a great deal. Obviously, we bought our new chairs for the second conference room on Amazon and probably saved ourselves a couple $1,000.
Much money.
And it's really great to have a one-stop shop for a whole lot of, just the plethora of things that you can get on Amazon. And if nothing else, it's a good point of comparison that when we're shopping from another vendor, we might be able to use that to kind of gauge where the market price is on certain items. So I want to recommend that we move forward and sign up for the Amazon Business Prime for Indiana counties.
I don't have no problem with this. I do have a concern for the treasurer's office, for the auditor's office. I mean, they watch the bills pretty close, what's being paid. I just want to make sure we'll be able to track it. The items being purchased are legit.
Are appropriate.
Appropriate, yes. That's my only concern.
That is actually every invoice that goes through. I verify to make sure it's legitimate county business. I have questioned more than one. There are days I have hundreds of claims come through my office. So yes, those are all questioned regardless of what we have.
And I can verify, yes, she has. And she calls me every now and then.
Yeah. How familiar are you with this program, Angie?
I am not familiar at all with this program. I know the highway, is he still here? I believe the highway is looking at signing up or has signed up for this. So it becomes an Amazon just a different vendor that we set up, and then we could follow, if anybody who purchases off of that, you all get reports in your boxes. Once we do approve the claims or get them through the process before they come here for your final approval. But it is I know Amazon, other departments use Amazon. They have used Amazon.
So would we need to possibly create some sort of policy or executive order or something to say that if anybody's going to be making purchases through Amazon, they do it through the county's account?
Yeah, I think you might struggle with that because you could do that for your department heads, but the elected officials, you really don't have. You could put that in paper, but enforcing may not be as easy as what you think. I will say that most of the departments that use that are pretty willing to do that and to work with everybody. I've not had really any issues with any of the departments throughout the county on. If I have a question on an invoice, I get a response back very quickly. There's never been anything that I've really questioned too hard that somebody's given me a really hard time about. So I don't really see that being an issue. I think we have very good elected officials and department heads that are really very, very savvy in what they're purchasing and living within their means and not trying, when they're looking for something new, a lot of them are going at multiple places to see if they can get the best deal before they make those purchases. And I have not seen anything come through that has really stood out to me as being a huge red flag.
Is this going to be easier for you if we put it all in one account, all the departments, or is that going to make a difference?
Something that I would like to, logistics on the back end is see if there's a way to put separate departments in there. If it's under one, like one umbrella of the county, and then have each department have their own login so they can make their own purchases. Yeah. That's kind of what I would like to see, but again, that's a logistics on the back end.
Yep. And I would think that if AIC is recommending this for us, they've probably dealt with this before and have a model to execute it. So
AIC, my time with the county, AIC has been wonderful to work with. Anytime I've had a question, they've been very responsive. A lot of times state agencies don't like to give answers because they feel like it falls into a legal category, but a lot of the people at AIC are former elected officials and they have attorneys on staff who will give answers that are a little bit more defined than what you would get from a state agency. So they are very good, and I personally would trust anything that would come from AIC.
All right. Would you be willing to look into this further so that we can take action on it?
Yeah, we can, absolutely. If you guys want to move forward with doing this,
You want to look into it? You want to have Jesse look and see what, I guess, do you have time to look into it?
I'll make time.
I would rather they look at it because they're going to ask questions that I'm not going to ask.
We're going to be on the logistics side, and just so, since I've got the floor at the moment, just so everybody knows, we will be sending out budget worksheets to all the departments since you've had your approval of your claims today. So that is going to start taking up some of our time. So I can't guarantee by the July 7th meeting, but I will definitely research that, and we'll start getting into looking into that a little bit deeper, and I'll reach out to AIC today.
Perfect. Now, is that a flat rate on this for the prime stuff?
I don't know the answer to that question. No. Yeah.
Oh,
I just know that it's a better deal than what you would get in a regular Amazon business, and that they recommend that it works really well. So yeah.
Yes, I would prefer, unless anybody's got any different, to hold off to the next meeting. Yeah. Let Angie check it out, and give us recommendations how to set it up so her office can handle it better, make it easy as we can for her.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And we'll look at that next meeting, see where we're at. Is that okay with everybody? Comfortable with that?
That's perfect.
Okay. Moving on, we have the exempt employee flex time.
You missed
I missed
990 Illinois
990
Street.
Illinois Street, electrical upgrade and generator. There it is. Doc Holland has decided he wants to, well, let me back up. We were going to move the old generator from the old building over to run the refrigerators by, according to standards he has to follow, he has to have a backup to keep them, anything in that refrigerator cool. So we had a small generator over at the other building. It became more efficient to buy a new one than to try to pay to have that moved. It was so expensive to move it. And from that, it led into, then we started talking about, can we kind of, when we do this, put some throw switches in where we could power, in case of emergencies, other parts of the building, just to keep functioning. Well, Doc come down to the point that he would like to buy a bigger generator and be able to function the whole time. So if in case there's a major emergency in the county, that building will function. It also fits in a COOP plan. It could also be a station for emergency services for the whole county-wide, could operate out of there in case of a disaster of some sort. So that's what he would like to do. I went to the council on his behalf last meeting. He thinks he's got all the money, but he has to move it around. There's some questions about his last budget and this budget. They're getting some things straightened out with the state. He thinks he's got the money, but the council did tell him if he's a little bit short, that they would support him, okay? So we hope that's not the case, but that's kind of where it's at. To put a larger, I think it's 40 kW unit in, will power the whole building. It's $39,400 through Banner. We had several people look at it. This is the only quote we got. One just flat refused. I don't have the time and the manpower, and didn't quote it. Now, there also is a upgrade we have to do to the building because of the unit we're putting in, the heating and air conditioning units. There will be 5, because this new system will be 5 air conditioning units. If they kick on all at once, it's going to take a lot of power. So it was suggested that we upgrade the service to the building. NIPSCO is going to work in conjunction with NIPSCO. They're going to trench the lines in for free, and the upgrade to the service is $10,500. Now that has nothing to do with the generator. It has to be done anyhow. So maintenance is going to take care of that bill. Doc's bill would be $39,400 to put in the new generator and be able to set it up and operate the whole building. So I guess I'm looking for, technically, even though it's the health department doing this, it's commissioner's building and commissioner's generator. So
All right.
if we do this, I need commissioner approval if you guys want to do this.
So we're not signing contracts. We don't need a signature. Just need to approve the
You
bid,
are
right?
accepting the bids, so there will be a signature
There will be a
required to
sig-
accept the bids to move forward with this.
Okay.
All 3 signatures or just one? Just one?
So I will move, if the council's found the money for it and Doc thinks he can afford to pay for it, then I'll move to approve the purchase of the generator for 990 Illinois Street, also known as the Klotz Building.
Let me clarify what you just said here, okay? Number one, Doc thinks he's got the money, okay?
Okay, yeah.
So,
I'll second that.
motion been made and seconded to approve the generator for the health department at $39,400, the bid from Banner Electric. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Also, we don't need a bid for the 10.5, right? Just upgrade the service. Do we need approval of that?
Yes, since you have the quote and the bid here,
Okay.
it would be beneficial just to get that. That way
Okay.
it's in the minutes and.
And this is the 10.5 to go ahead and upgrade the service.
All right, I move to accept the bid from Banner Electric Incorporated in the amount of $10,500.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve the bid from Banner Electric to do the service upgrade on the building at $10,500. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next, we have the exempt employee flex time. And this has been a discussion in the county for a couple years, off and on. Right now, if we have an employee on salary, and we got employees on salary that work more than their 40 hours or 35 hours or whatever, but then next week they gotta go to the doctor, they have to use personal time. So this is meant to mirror more of the private sector, how it works. So Angie, you got any comments on, you've been involved in that?
Yes, there are several counties that do this, that allow their employees, because all staff, regardless of hourly, is required to punch a time clock, and they, electeds are the only ones who do not have to punch a time clock. So this gives the opportunity that if somebody has an appointment they know is coming up, I can tell you on the hourly side, that happens all the time. The electeds allow various employees, if you know you have a doctor's appointment, work through lunch that day, you need to leave early as long as there's enough staff to cover. Putnam County currently has the same timekeeping system we do. They allow flex time. It is really up to you time-wise on that. There's, you can go 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 6 months, whatever, but a policy can be written to allow for that, and AOD would be able to have the flex time in there. It would not be paid out should the employee leave. If they do not use the flex time by the end of whatever term that you impose, then it would disappear. And this is only for the exempt department heads. This would not be for any of the hourly.
And don't forget, if we're gonna do this, we gotta determine the time, how long this lasts.
So we would need an amount of time they were able to flex and a time for which it would still remain on their bank, right?
Yeah, currently hourly employees can comp their time up to 40 hours. Now, when an hourly employee leaves, if they have comp time in their bank, they are paid out. Flex would be different
Unpaid,
from that.
yeah.
They could comp up to X amount of hours, but you would give them a time frame saying you have 90 days, you have 3 months to use this flex time. If you don't use it, then it automatically falls off. And you, an example of that would be when the tornadoes went through. You had EMA working several hours that week.
Yep.
If he had a doctor's appointment 3 weeks later, he had to use
Yep.
sick time or benefit time in order to take that.
What do you think of as far as like number of hours we'd allow them to bank? I mean, I'm thinking 10, 16, something like that.
Well, it depends how long we give them to use it.
90 days would be my
I'd
suggestion.
agree with 90 days.
90 days. I'd lean, because depending on what's going on in the county, like during tax time, you end up getting a lot of hours run over there.
That
during-
doesn't count.
Oh, that doesn't count.
No.
No, treasurer's office does not. The elected officials do not. Elected officials are paid regardless of, they could be here working 2 hours a day, they could be here working 12 hours a day, and that doesn't matter. Hourly staff is already receiving comp time. This is specifically for your exempt department heads. So this would be specifically for exempt staff. Those who are that are salaried, there is no benefit to go salaried. In the private sector, you have a benefit to being salaried. There is no benefit to being salaried in the public sector. I'm just going to say it. There isn't.
I would be favorable of taking it up to 40 hours of bank time.
Yeah, I think that's not gonna happen very often.
No,
If you're only giving them a certain time frame to use it, I doubt anybody would even get to 40 hours. That would be a rarity.
yeah, just
I would think 16 or
20?
even 20.
20, yeah,
20.
do 20 hours at 90 days. Is that,
I'm good with that.
All right.
so will we have to then have this drawn up and then put into our policy book, or does it take effect?
It would have to be a policy, so it would be something that would be in the handbook, because if
We'll have
you
to change it.
if you do this now and then a new board of commissioners comes in, they could go in and change it. So it's best to have everything in the policy, and we can get a policy written based on that. You guys can think about it. If you want to change anything between now and then, that is an internal function of the county, that can be updated. So we can reach out, and I can find out from other counties how much time they max out as well, to give you guys that idea of what other government entities, local units are doing.
So I'm assuming you need a motion today to move forward?
Yeah, if you guys are okay with moving forward with flex time, then we can do a motion to move forward with that and then get a policy together, have you review that before the next meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made second to move forward with consideration of flex time policy. Having the auditor and the HR look at this, bring us back a policy. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And I will say, as someone who's been salaried in the private sector before, this is very beneficial and shows respect for our employees. I think
It's needed.
good. Yeah.
It's needed. So, at the risk of asking, anything else on the mind?
I don't think I've got anything after 2 days of sitting on this. I'm just gonna be happy to have my blood sugar come down after this meeting's over.
I got some things I'd like to say, but it's more on the technical side involving what's going on out there with the sewer district. I got some technical questions and concerns about that project, as far as if they tie in here to Plymouth's treatment plant. I'm curious what source they're going to be using to back flush all that material all the way back into Plymouth, and where that water source is going to come from. because that, I'm assuming that would require an extra well to be dug to do that. And I'm making the assumption that it's not gonna get pumped from any of the lakes. Because if you take that volume of water out of one of the lakes out there, if you ever seen the flow through the lakes and see what the actual outflow or overflow area, how much water comes over Zaner Mill Pond into Lake Latanka, during the summertime, if we're not getting any rain, that flow is minimal at best. And it's just one of those concerns I have, what just kind of on the technical geekier side of the whole project, kind of what they're planning and how they're planning on doing some of this stuff. I also have a concern a little bit just in general, because I would like to see more industry come into the county, provide better paying jobs. And right now we do have capacity, or I've been told we have capacity here at the treatment plant in Plymouth, if that's where they choose to bring it into, which is well and good. But at what point down the line would that, if we bring more industry in that brings in more demand to treat water, at what point down the line would that mean Plymouth would have to increase capacity at their treatment facility, which would bring on another cost to anyone on sewer? And that would, ideally, that wouldn't affect people currently in Plymouth with the rate increase, but looking in the crystal ball or a magic 8 ball, you don't really know what that looks like. So I just got a lot of technical kind of nerdy questions as far as that goes.
I have one thing. I did get some questions this last week. For anybody who doesn't know, if you have concerns about our ordinance and stuff, you want to verify anything, they are on the county website. I've had several, just for whatever reason, all of a sudden, several people ask me. So they are on the website. You go under the planning department on the right hand, I think it's on the right hand column, and you scroll down through there, you'll find the comprehensive plan. You will find different ordinances, different categories of ordinances. So I just kind of want to get it out there. I hope it gets out there to some people, okay, at least. So it is available out there. Nobody's trying to hide anything from you. So just go look, and if you can't find it, call the planning department, okay? With that being said, I'll entertain a motion to
One more thing. While Adam was talking, I checked my text messages, and I'd like to ask your indulgence if Councilman Shattuck is still here. He had said that he wanted to share something real quick. He left. Okay.
He left. Okay. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second. Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So you can go out and sleep, all right?
There's that.